Welcome to Work It, Live It, Own It, a show that explores how to upgrade your lifestyle through life lessons, real estate, and entrepreneurship. Here's your hostess, SaCola Lehr. Hello, everyone. My name is SaCola Lehr, and I am the hostess of the Work It, Live It, Own It podcast, and I'm also a North Carolina realtor, and today I have the privilege of being joined by my accountability partner, none other than Connie Ward.
Hello, everyone. I'm Connie Ward with Incredible Realty Group. I love the Charlotte, North Carolina metro real estate market.
And of course, I love to cover the Mebane to Greensboro, North Carolina area with some of the other surrounding areas throughout the triad. So we're going to do a revamp. We're going to do a reboot. We did this video a couple of years ago during the pandemic when we couldn't actually meet face to face. And I think just a couple of months ago, we've met for the first time in person after 3 years of being each other's accountability partners. So we felt that we deserved to, and we owe it to you guys to actually do this particular video in person together.
We're live in the flesh.
Live in the flesh. So a lot of times, I've had home buyers say to me, trying to buy a home for the very first time is like being a member of a secret society. You don't know what it's like until you're actually in it. And so what we want to do in this particular episode is actually dive into one aspect. Being prepared to purchase a home is a very big deal. You can't just wake up one morning and say, hey, I want to buy a house. And unless you're just a millionaire, you making 7 figures and up, and you say, hey, I want to buy a house, and you've got the money and ready to roll, that's great. But if you are like any average person in the world, you have to save some money and you have to be prepared. So in this particular episode, we're going to cover the 10 commandments. This is what we like to call the 10 commandments of what you should not do when you're applying for a home loan. So in this particular video, we are going to do it like a game. There are 10 commandments. We don't know which one we're going to pick. So it's almost going to be like a deck of cards. So I'm going to put it here. And Connie, since you are my host since I'm the host, you're the guest. You have the privilege of drawing first. And so whichever one that we draw is the one that we're going to expound on and talk about. So Connie, commandment number 1, you should not.
I need a drum roll or something. I feel like I got 2 sheets at once.
You did. Go ahead and take 2. Help yourself.
Alrighty. You should not co-sign a loan for anyone.
That's a good one.
Yes, this is a very good one. And so one thing that I think that we generally like to do is kind of dispel myths, right? And I think for quite some time, different schools of thought around co-signing. And some people believe that when you co-sign, it's that you are maybe partially responsible. And I think that's where a lot of us can get ourselves into trouble, because when you co-sign on anything, when you're a co-applicant, you're an equal applicant. You're as responsible as the other individual that is on that particular loan, credit card, vehicle, furniture, appliances, whatever it is, where you borrowed money and you put yourself in second position on that application. So one of you, the parties, has to pay. If one party doesn't, the other person needs to, and your credit is impacted the same way equally. There is no levels of responsibility. And where this can hurt you the most when it comes to purchasing a home is with your DTI, which is also known as your debt to income ratio. And so we have this scenario quite often, especially I find it prevalent with young adult children, maybe college age children, teenagers, that maybe the parent or parents, caregivers have co-signed for them for a vehicle. But they also have their own vehicle. They have their own credit cards. They might have their own student loan. And all of that debt is taking away for the remaining monies available for you to purchase a home. So this is absolutely not something that we want to do when we are in the process of obtaining a mortgage to buy a home. We don't want to co-sign on any new loans. Now, if you've already co-signed and you're in that position where you might have more debt, and you're carrying more debt than your income can really carry, then that's a conversation that we need to have. But if you're not already in that position, definitely do not co-sign.
Right.
Okay.
I agree. And you also need to think about taking steps to getting your name off of that particular line of credit. I think that's the most important thing, especially when you're on the cusp of making a major purchase. All right. So I guess it's my turn.
It is, SaCola. So what's another thing you should not do?
Do I have to pick from the top, or I can shuffle?
You can shuffle it
Okay.
around.
Well, since you picked from the top, I'll do the same this time. Ooh, I like this one. You should not. Let's switch it this way so they can see.
Oh.
So if you, I'm going to put this on my podcast platform, but I encourage you guys to head over to YouTube to Work It, Live It, Own It, and check this out. Because one thing you should not do, another one, we're going to call this commandment number 2, is change bank accounts. And guys, this is so important. And the reason why you should not change bank accounts is because if you've already been in the process of a loan application, the loan officer, the underwriters are going to be checking from time to time your bank statements. The first time when you're applying for a loan, they're going to look at your last 2 recent bank statements for most typical cases, right? If you're getting more, by the time you're going through the process, it could be 6 to 8 weeks, or depending on how long it takes you to search for a home, it could be in the span of 3 to 4 months. You've acquired more income since then. If you're in the process of changing your bank accounts, you're in essence changing the game. And so they may think that you're trying to make shell moves with your money, playing that shell game with your money. You don't want to do that. Even if you're upset with your bank and they've done something to really make you mad and you want to sever that relationship, hold off on changing your bank accounts until you actually finish closing on your loan. Now, it's not to say that you can't open up a new bank account, because we've had a lot of out-of-state buyers who've had out-of-state banks and they want to open up a new account locally, and that's fine. But here's what I would advise you to do. Communicate effectively with your loan officer and make them aware of what you are doing, and then they will advise you properly on what to do. But overall, do not change your bank accounts, okay? Most important, until after you have keys in hand and the deed is recorded.
So, SaCola, you know me very well, and you know that I'm a self-proclaimed comedian, and so I have a lot of cheesy catchphrases and things that I think that they're hilarious.
Yes,
but
you do.
Sometimes people don't laugh. However, I like to give people relatable things that they could use to remember. And so I'm going to take my phone out, because I know many of you that are watching this on YouTube. If you're listening to it on Spotify or another podcast.
Well, they can watch the video on Spotify as well.
Oh, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
You might not be able to see me. However, you can visualize. Okay, so we all like to take selfies, right? And so this is our financial makeup, right? This is our bank account. And all of you probably can remember the mannequin challenge that, y'all were doing, because I wasn't doing the mannequin challenge.
I never did the mannequin challenge.
So it's just a time to be still. Mm-hmm. So if you think of the mannequin challenge, you think of taking a selfie, you're freezing a moment in time. Right. So you're taking this snapshot of your bank account and of your whole financial picture, and you kind of just want to secure it, lock it up, and keep it safe as you navigate this process, and don't really make any sudden moves or changes without consulting your mortgage lender first, because there are some things that need to be done very strategically. So in order to make those strategic plays, you want to get that guidance from the source. This is not a time where you want to try to DIY or listen to the internets and the social medias and all of that, because while there is some, helpful information, sometimes we can misinterpret that and we can actually do things that cause more harm than good. So remember, selfie challenge or selfie in the mannequin challenge. That'll help you.
All right.
All righty. So what else should we not do?
Well, Connie, we should not.
Make large deposits without first checking with your loan officer.
Like mattress money. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I know some people who do that. Mattress money is a real thing.
All right.
Let's talk about
Cloud money that just falls out the sky.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Why is that? Why should we not make large deposits in our account? I mean, so what if we got an inheritance? What if we received an inheritance or nice big tax refund check, which, some people do get large tax refund checks, or got a bonus from their job.
Right. Okay.
What's the issue with that? What's the harm?
So there can be monies that are sourced, right? Money that is well seasoned. We don't sprinkle some Lowry's on it and some, whatever seasoning you like to use, Mrs. Dash or Dopo. So we want to make sure that money is seasoned, it's sourced, right? It's from a trackable source. It could be an employer bonus. It could be an inheritance. It could be a tax return. Maybe you sell an asset, a vehicle. Maybe you have a motorcycle and you're not going to drive it anymore and it's paid off and you're going to sell it. Well, those are things that we can substantiate, right? We can get receipts for that. There's a trail. Mattress money, the money that falls out the sky, cannot be traced. Therefore, a lot of times they will not allow you to use those funds towards purchasing a home because they cannot identify where it came from. And it needs to be money that has been seasoned in your bank account for 60 days or more.
Okay.
So that's the issue with the mattress money, is that you have to explain and have proof of where the monies came from.
Right. Because I've even known and worked with clients who recently retired and may have gotten proceeds from leave that they've accumulated over the years, or they're moving money from a 401k or whatever, an IRA, and they're putting that into the primary account. So you always, again, this is where, if you don't remember anything else or learn anything else, one, don't make sudden changes or movements when you're applying for a loan, and communicate effectively with your loan officer. Keep them in the loop because they will find out. They will see the changes in your bank account. All right, my turn.
It is your turn.
Okay, so you should not originate any inquiries into your credit. That is key, guys. That is so key. And let me tell you why that is so key. Because what you have as far as your debt to income ratio, like Connie had mentioned earlier, talking about your DTI, if you start pulling other inquiries, say, for example, you want to start shopping, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit, but you want to start digging into other accounts or lines of credit. You may see a house that may need some improvements that you want to make. Hold off on doing that until you actually have secured the home. Reason being, the more you pull on your credit, and it does a hard pull, the number your credit score will start to drop. And when your credit is pulled originally, when you're applying for the loan, it may be one number. And then the more you're doing inquiries, your credit score will start to drop. And so then your loan officer and the underwriter team is going to start wondering, hey, why all of a sudden is your credit score dropping? What are you doing? Again, that mannequin challenge, you want to freeze frame in time. Usually on average, buying a home is about 6 to 8 weeks. Worst case scenario, 8 weeks. Sometimes it can be a little bit longer.
Right.
30 to 45 days is how I would put it. 30 to 45 days. So make sure you hold off on things that you really want to do. Okay. So don't have anyone else start pulling your credit for any reason whatsoever, unless it's your loan officer. Okay. And they will inform you if they have to do anything like that. Okay.
And it can also give the impression that you're overextending yourself, right? Maybe your debt to income ratio, that DTI, was already tight, right? And we have to stay in line. Sometimes we have front and back end ratios that we need to stay within. And if you're on the line, that one extra line of credit can put you over. And so now you no longer qualify for that particular loan program. You may still qualify for a loan, but that scenario could change drastically, especially when it comes to things like grants or down payment assistance or other pools of money that you may also be obtaining, and that impacts what you qualify for. And you may have heard horror stories from friends or family members, or even out, just in the internet, where someone was very close to closing on a home. They went out and got a line of credit. They bought appliances, furniture. Those are the big ones usually. They go to a home improvement store, right? Take out a credit card, and now they no longer qualify. And the transaction falls apart. So we do not want that to happen to you.
All right, Connie, I think you're up.
All righty. What else?
So you should not. Oh, you just touched on this one, didn't you?
Well, yes. See, I knew this was coming. I knew.
You shouldn't buy furniture, guys.
No, we want to wait until after we close on the home and move into the home. Now, these are kind of general guidelines, right? General rules of thumb. There is really no one size fits all. However, we have seen with the amount of clients that we've serviced, and then also in our network of other realtor colleagues and counterparts, is that on average, these things can be derailers. Now, again, if you are a super high income earner and you're buying well below your budget, some of these things may not impact you. So these are general guidelines for kind of the general population, right? So I'm not getting into the nuance of, well, if this, then that doesn't apply to me, but it's better to just play it safe and just wait.
Exactly. All right. So how many commandments was that?
I think we've gotten through half at least.
Okay.
A couple more.
I think that was number 5. So
okay.
Number 6.
You should not
omit debts or liabilities from your loan application. That is a no-no. A loan officer, a mortgage lender is like your Sherlock Holmes, your Nancy Drew, Hercule Poirot, Miss Marple. They will find out. If you omitted something originally and said no. Say, for example, you helped finance something for someone else under another corporation, and it's tied to your personal taxes, personal information. They're going to find out. They're going to know. So please, honesty is the best policy, guys. Please make sure that you are upfront. I can't say this enough. Honest. Be honest. Full effective communication. Don't omit any liabilities or debts that you may have. Even if you filed bankruptcy in the past, let them know, yes, I have filed bankruptcy, but it has been discharged. Usually it takes, for Chapter 7, it takes about 7 years for it to become discharged. Please make sure that you're upfront and honest with them. Okay? No need to lie, because they will ask you and they will find out. And the best thing you can do is just go ahead and be honest and say, here's the situation. Here's what I've had to deal with. Here's what I've been through. But this is what I've been working on. And you will be surprised. If they're a well-seasoned lender, they are going to help you. They may even provide tips for you. And there may be, and I've worked with some clients too, they have totally forgot about a debt, didn't realize it, and it showed up on their credit. Okay, it showed up on their credit, and they just totally forgot. It was a mishap. It was a mistake. But the lender's going to find out. The lender's going to see that, and they're going to call it to your attention. And they may even give you some steps on how to take care of that debt before you actually start actively searching for a home.
One thing I would also like to point out that just kind of came to my memory is that mortgage lenders, they have access to additional information about us other than our credit report. Mm-hmm. There are other reports. And so while you might think because it's not on your credit report or you do not see it on the consumer facing site like the, credit monitoring that you can sign up for, some paid, some at no cost. Well, they sometimes don't report all of the information. It could have aged out of their criteria, but the lender is going to see pretty much everything, right? And then they also have access to other reports that will reveal things such as tax liens and things like that. If you have back child support, other types of debt, IRS debt. I had a client who we were well in the process, and it turned out that they did have an IRS debt. We were able to remedy that situation, but they did have to pay the debt off, and they had the resources to do it, but they knew, but they didn't say anything because they thought, well, it's not on my credit report. So that's one thing to really keep in mind, is that all of the financial information that tells your story isn't necessarily information that's just found in your credit report. So it's best to just be very transparent throughout the process.
You brought up a valid point, because I think about, there are times where even if you are not a first-time home buyer and you have bought a home previously, say, for example, an HOA. An HOA may come up and the board has voted on a special assessment, and you have opted not to pay your portion of that special assessment. By you not paying that special assessment, they can put a lien on your property. If you work with a contractor and you and the contractor may have had a falling out, that contractor, if he or they did not receive full payment, even though they may not have done the type of work or the level of work that was originally agreed upon, they can actually go and put a lien on your property. So even before you sell it, that is a lien on your property, and you have to pay that off. And that is another thing that a mortgage lending company can discover and find out. So if you even think about, there may be some things out there that could potentially be a lien on your credit, please share that with your mortgage loan officer. All right. So that was number 6, right?
Yep.
Number 7.
You
should not spend money you have set aside for closing. Don't do it. Usually, mortgage loan officers are great by letting you know what the average cost is going to be up front. It may change a little bit, but it's going to be like a small percent, maybe half a percent, maybe 1% off from the original loan estimate. So when you're applying for a loan, you're going to get an initial loan estimate that will let you know what your closing costs, your potential closing costs can be. And then right before you go to the settlement table, then they're going to give you a second loan estimate that's going to tell you, okay, this is the amount of money that you need to bring to the real estate attorney's office. Now, in North Carolina, we are a transaction state, so we use real estate attorneys. So you're going to know exactly what you need to bring. They're also going to check and ask for a bank statement sometimes right before you close to make sure that you have that money set aside. If you start spending that money and you don't have that money, you may not be able to get to the settlement table to close and get the keys in hand. So make sure you don't touch that money. Hands off. Don't touch that. Okay?
Remember, we're frozen. We're not making any big changes in our financial picture during this time.
Absolutely.
Alrighty, so we are approaching the finish line of the things that we should not do.
All right, so number 8. We are number 8. It's your turn, Connie.
Oh, okay. Let's see.
You should not
use charge cards excessively or let your cards fall behind. Okay, so just like all of the 10 commandments of things not to do, while you're in this process. And we've talked about not getting new credit, right? But what about the existing credit cards that you have? So we talked about DTI, debt to income ratio, and how our debt existing and new can impact our debt to income ratio. Well, the lender has already done that calculation, right? And they've determined what you qualified for based upon your income and your debt,
right,
and also your assets, maybe how much money you're putting down in those estimated costs, cash to close funds, right? So if you, let's just say hypothetically, you have a credit card and your limit is $10,000. And when you got pre-qualified, you had only had $2,000 in utilization, right? Well, now you've maxed that card out. Well, that has significantly changed your debt to income ratio because now your monthly payment is higher and you probably have impacted your credit score as well. That's one of the worst things that you can do as far as your credit score is concerned. It can drop pretty quickly and drastically by maxing out a credit card, or getting a new loan. So you don't want to use your credit cards beyond what you had already been using them. So if you kind of use your card and you charge, a reoccurring expense, you pay it off, you pay it off, and that's what you normally do, and that's what your credit report looked like when they pulled it and gave you your pre-approval letter, then that's kind of how you want it to stay, right?
Right.
And you definitely do not want to let anything fall behind. So probably the most damaging things, a new collection or something like that pops up, maxing out a credit card, overusing your credit cards, or letting something be a late payment. Typically, if you've had a late payment within the last 12 to 24 months, that can prohibit you from qualifying for a mortgage. So if you had one that aged out, or you've never had one, now you've got a brand new one, is going to just ravage your credit score probably. There are some instances where it may not have that big of an impact, but for, general purposes, it's just something that's not advisable.
Okay. All right. So we've got 2 more to go.
2 more. What should you not do?
Commandment number 9, you should not buy a car, a truck, van, or you might be living in it. Oh my goodness.
Well, that's a thing now, right? But it's intentional. Some people are doing,
I'm all
the
about
tiny, small living, but it's intentional.
I'm all about the tiny house living. I'm going to be honest. My husband and I thought about buying a tiny house and living in it. Okay. But guys, I understand things happen. Unforeseen occurrences happen all the time. And I never forget, I had a client on the way to actually look at a house. Car broke down. They decided to go buy another car. I immediately started to panic. I had to call the lender. I was like, wait a minute, whoa. When I talked to my client, I said, did you talk to the lender? Did you talk to the lender? Did she say that was okay? Are we good? Because we don't need to look at this house anymore. And that is, I've seen that happen to other realtors. They're a week away or a few days away from having their clients to close on a home. And the clients got really excited and happy and wanted to celebrate and buy themselves a new car. And then, bum, bum, ba-dum.
Womp, womp.
They couldn't close. That's an additional debt, guys. You're adding on to your debt income ratio. Fortunately for this client, they were good. They were secure. The lender was like, oh yeah, they're good. They're fine. Okay, great. But again, before you start making major purchases, any major purchases, and I understand, we need to get around, especially in the South. We don't have the type of means or transportation where we can just take a bus, metro, subway, whatever. Okay. Please talk to the lender. Make sure it's okay. All right.
And so just to add to that, one of the things also to keep in mind when it comes to purchasing something like a vehicle is that, it impacts your debt to income ratio pretty significantly. But also sometimes people assume that the lender won't find out. So we've already talked about keeping things from your lender, right? We talked about excessive spending, and some of these might seem a little redundant, but it's because these are real life things that have happened. And some people do it because they think the lender already pulled my credit, even though they know it might impact my debt to income ratio, but they're thinking, well, they already checked my credit, and so I'm in the clear. You are never in the clear until you close, the deed is recorded, and you get the keys in your hand, and the utilities have transferred into your name. You should not make any large purchases because they can check your credit all the way up until the day of closing.
They can check it that morning of.
They can re-verify all of your information if they deem necessary. So you might think, oh, I'm in the clear. They already checked my employment. I've had it happen with cars. I've had it happen with jobs. One of my clients, they had a falling out with their boss and they quit their job in the process. And they thought we were not going to find out because, they already verified my employment we're going to close and I'll just get another job and everything will be okay. And it was not.
Yeah, I had that happen. I think it was the day before we were set to close or go to the settlement table. They were still trying to verify my employment. Pretty much. They were trying to verify my employment, and I couldn't find someone to sign off my employment. I'm freaking out. I'm texting people. Hey, can you just verify that I work there, please? Doggone it. And we're serious about it. I know we're joking and we're talking about things that have happened, but in those real life situations and scenarios, we are telling you guys the truth. We're not going to lead you astray. They will check the beginning, the middle, the end, right up till you're getting ready to walk into the attorney's office. They're going to check and make sure everything is okay. Even when you get that clear to close, that doesn't mean it's clear to go start shopping. Wait till you get the call from the attorney's office saying, hey, the deed has been recorded. And then you get that access code to get those keys, and you are turning the key you're putting the key in the door and you're turning it and you're unlocking it. Then you want to go shopping. You want to go to Home Goods. You want to go to TJ Maxx. You want to go and buy you a new truck, whatever. You want to start going to Lowe's, Home Depot, whatever home improvement store you want to go to. Then that's when you do it.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Don't do it beforehand.
These are not like scare tactics or exaggerating. These are everyday things that do happen. And the devastation, though, when you're working with someone and they have other vested, people in this process, whether it be, other family members that are going to be living in the home, their children, parents, whomever. And that one mistake derails the whole transaction, and you have devastation, you have tears, you have crying, you have just complete, people feel devastated and defeated. So it's a really, challenging situation to be in, that sometimes the only thing that can heal it is time. And maybe all your stuff is on the truck. You're ready to move. So these things are really important, even though we make light of it. It's really kind of to make it memorable so that you don't forget.
Right. Absolutely.
And the last of the 10 commandments of things not to do.
Right. And Connie, you kind of touched on this one already, is about changing your jobs, becoming self-employed, or quitting your job. Guys, now let's just say if you are in education and you want to switch school districts, okay, is that big of a deal? No, not necessarily. But again, this is where you still want to talk to your loan officer about it and say, hey, I've decided to switch school districts. We're still good. They may ask you, okay, are you getting an increase in salary? Because if you move from a different school district, there may be an increase or decrease in your salary. It just depends. Again, communicate. If you decide, hey, I'm going to go into business for self. First of all, congratulations for taking that bold step, taking that leap. However, guys, that changes the game completely, because if you are business for self, they need to see not income tax. They need to see a 1099, or they don't need to see a W-9, right?
W-2.
W-2. Well, all these W-2,
all these, right,
W-2, W-9. It changes from a W-2 to a 1099. And so that changes the game completely of how they look at your income. So, and I can talk about this too. There's been an episode that I've come out with talking about the difference between manual and automatic underwriting. There are two different approaches that a lender can take. So you might want to make sure that you stay where you are until you close on the home. And of course, quitting your job. Without finance, without any money, honey, you don't get a house.
We definitely want you to take advantage of any opportunities that put you in a better position overall, right? A promotion, a raise, an opportunity to maybe even switch from one job to another job. But there are always strategic ways to do these things. It's not always that you shouldn't, but it's that you should get the guidance so that you do it the right way. Now, going from 1099 to W-2 doesn't have the same impact as the opposite, because when you become self-employed, 1099, then they want 2 years tax return, right? And so you don't have 2 years tax returns, and they're not talking about your 2 years W-2 tax returns. So that can derail everything. Whereas the opposite might actually help the situation in some instances. But I guess we say all of this to say, when in doubt, even when not in doubt, if you're going to make a change, let's just talk it through. Talk to your loan officer, talk to your real estate professional, and let them give you the guidance that you need to make the best decision to keep things moving in the right direction.
Absolutely. Well, Connie, thank you so much for joining me in person this time to actually go over the 10 commandments and what you should not do. And guys, listen, I know that was a lot of information in a short amount of time, but thankfully I have a PDF. So if you want to reach out to me, email me at info@workitliveitownit.com and say, I want the 10 commandments, and I will email you back a PDF of the 10 commandments. Also, I will email you and gift you a magazine in PDF format of what you, can I talk today? What you can expect. I need more tea. I do. What to expect during the home buying process, because preparation is key. All right. And staying, what they say, being forewarned and being, what is it?
I have my little...
I feel like those popular people on television can't get a quote. Right?
Well, I make up my own.
Forewarned is forearmed. There we go. This is
why I make up my own phrases, right? We want to live in the realm of reality. That's what I call it. But in all seriousness, our ultimate goal, right, and everything that we do as we educate, buyers about the home buying process, we do want to educate and empower you to make the most informed decisions possible. Right. That's our goal.
It's late, guys. It's late.
I promise you, that was tea.
It was tea. Just tea. All right, guys. So again, thank you for tuning in to this particular episode. Connie, we're going to have Connie back to talk about more real estate related topics. Don't forget to work it, live it, own it in your everyday life. And again, if you want that PDF, just email me at info@workitliveitownit.com. And Connie, by the way, if someone is looking in the Charlotte metro area in North Carolina, what is the best way for them to get in contact with you?
Well, Google Connie Ward Realtor. And you'll probably find me on all the socials everywhere. My website is conniewardrealtor.com. And you can also find me at Cake and Real Estate, where we talk about all things from cake to real estate and everything in between.
All right. That wraps it up for this episode. Take care, guys.
Bye, guys.